Netherlands, the 21st of October 2018. Subject: A good live but bad things happen. A story written by Herman Fridsma. A good live but bad things happen. A story written by Herman Fridsma, the 21st of October 2018. Email address: herman.fridsma@gmail.com. A good life but bad things happen. It's a beautiful and sunny day in August. Two birds are flying in the sky, and the trees and the flowers are flourishing while in their heydays before decay will end it all during autumn season. I'm wandering on the streets of my hometown while I think of all that happened the past day of my life, and things that are still taking place right now in the here and present while affecting my future. I have no eye for the beauty of the flowers in the gardens and the trees around me during my walk, because of my troubled and tormented mind, which is still processing all shocking things that did happen. Who I am? I'm just an average 1.82 meters tall, dark blonde, athletic build guy in my 30s, who lives in a rental house. I have a job at an office of a big company as a bookkeeper, and I'm married to a beautiful brunette wife 1.74 meters tall and slim, who is 4 months pregnant of our first child, which starts to show off. Lucky me, you probably think, but then I would say think again, because the opposite is true. I have feeling my world is falling apart, so let me tell you my story. For me, all started yesterday when I found out truth about things I now wish I never had found out. Right now all seems so surrealistic to me, and my mind is somewhat blur because of inner conflicts and emotional pain I'm struggling with, so please forgive me for fact that I at moments be emotional when I tell my story. I forgot to tell you that my name is Jack Morrison, and after I have told you my story, I have to decide of what to do with the ordeal I'm in, because I need to break free to escape my living nightmare. Then, yesterday I drove my car while returning home early from office because I forgot some documents earlier that morning which were still at my writing desk back home. My wife would be home in about an hour because earlier that morning she told me she would be gone because she planned to visit a friend, but she expected being home in time to prepare dinner. I parked my car in front of my house and went straight to the front door and enter my house. The house is a small terraced house with a front garden, and it is cozy and affordable. It always gives me a good feeling when coming home because my wife had done a wonderful job by decorating the entire house in a modern style, which is also my taste. I close the door behind me and walk to the stairs to go upstairs to my study room for their needed documents. At moment I came upstairs, I heard sounds which made me curious because nobody would be home as far as I know. Yes, go on. I did hear clearly the sound of the voice I recognized immediately as the voice of my wife Mary. I was puzzled for seconds, but then I thought she must have come home early. The voice of my wife came from out of the master bedroom, so I thought she must be phoning, so I walked towards the master bedroom because I wanted to tell my wife I would be home briefly only because of my forgotten documents, and then I had to go back to office. Suddenly I did hear the voice of a man. "Wow, Mary, you are good, I love it." The up till that moment to me still unknown man clearly said to my wife, There was something odd about that male voice because it sounded somehow familiar to me, but I was not sure. My heart did bounce wildly. While a brief moment thinking of infidelity, while anger and fear sensations started to take over, but I suppressed it and thought there must be a logical explanation for all because of my wife being pregnant and we being married and living our lives while loving each other and taking care of each other's needs. In silence I approached the master bedroom to be sure that nothing wrong happened. There were red flags were clearly present because of moaning sounds of my wife which I clearly could hear while my blood started to boil. Be cool, I said to myself because I still hoped for a logical explanation. I noticed that the master bedroom door was open ajar. I widened the door, opening a bit more, and started to peek inside the master bedroom to find out truth about what was happening there inside the master bedroom. I almost got a blackout and for seconds I had difficulty breathing at moment I saw what I absolutely not helped to witness. Clothes of my wife and a man were noticed at the floor of the master bedroom, and at the king-size bed my wife Mary was totally naked while sitting on top of a man while faced to him and riding his penis with her vagina while she all the time loudly was moaning. I felt deep pain inside myself at moment I clearly witnessed adultery of my wife. All kind of wild thoughts popped up inside my mind. I still could not identify the unknown man because of my wife blocking view at his face. I'm coming, wow girl, the man said while groaning loud and grabbing the bouncing breasts of my wife. Yes, come inside me Pat, I want to get flooded by you. My wild up and down bouncing sweating and naked wife screamed loudly. I almost had to puke. At moment I knew the man had a good time with my wife while unloading himself deep inside her. No matter fact that my wife is pregnant of our baby. Till moments ago I always thought to have a good marriage, but now all little of a happy wedlock broke into pieces and got scattered. Then I saw the face of the man while he rolled my wife at her back to lie down on top of her while both breathed heavily. It was Patrick Turner, my boss, the finance director of the company office I'm working for. I was deeply shocked to find out my wife and my company director had an affair. I withdrew myself from the master bedroom while feeling broken by all that I had witnessed and heard in regards to the obscene infidelity of my wife. I punched myself in my face to not cry because of my inner pain. And then I punched again to get my head clear and to order my thoughts because I felt deeply betrayed and humiliated by my wife and my boss. I decided to leave the house and to act as if nothing had happened while taking time to consider of what to do next. I went out to my car and drove to the park in my hometown where I sat on a bench while in my mind I saw projections of me introducing my wife to my boss, finance director Patrick Turner, at a company party organized by him about 6 months ago. It was the first time they met and I had no problem with him later that evening having a dance with my wife. You have a beautiful wife and a great dancer, my boss had told me that evening at the party while he was laughing. What a fool I was, I thought, while my memory recalled images of the dance popped up in my mind followed by the images of him screwing my wife. This all made me feel sick. Tears were running down my face from out of my eyes. I felt anger and started punching my fists at the wood of the bench I was sitting on till moment I started to bleed out of the skin-cracked wounds. I slowly came to my senses and let 2 hours pass before I returned to my car to go home. I had decided to not do anything and to act as if nothing had happened. After I entered my front door and stepped inside the house, I was a bit nervous. "Honey, I'm home," I said, and walked to the living room where Mary already had prepared the dinner table with the dinner for that evening. "I'm upstairs, Jack. I will come in a minute," Mary replied, after which she came down the stairs to greet me with a passionate kiss as if nothing had happened. I did not notice anything odd about Mary because she was her old self as I knew her for years. She's good, hiding her true nature, I thought. "How was work today, my love?" Mary asked while making eye contact. "You hypocrite bitch," I thought. But I swallowed my thought. Just as usual, I completed my tasks and had some jokes with the boys at happy hour after office time. I lied. "Darling, what happened to your hands?" Mary asked me at moment she noticed my hands. "Oh, nothing serious." I stumbled and fell while using my fists to break my fall, so my fists got a bit damaged, but no worries, all is okay now. I lied to her again and took place behind the dinner table. "Sorry to hear, Jack. I hope you have no pain," my wife replied while she also took place at her seat behind the dinner table, after which we started to eat our dinner she had prepared. All the time I felt uncomfortable being with my wife, but I suppressed all my feelings and acted like I normal did. After dinner and cleaning all up, Mary and I watched a TV program, and later that evening around bedtime at midnight we went to the master bedroom. I felt indisposed when I stepped inside the master bedroom and saw our king-size bed in front of me. I experienced flashback inner mind projections of what I had witnessed earlier afternoon, of what happened at sexual level between my wife and my boss. Haunting images of hard sex between my wife and my boss popped up in my mind. I had to force myself to step in my bed and to be with my wife. That night I felt impotent and not be able to make love to my wife, so I told her that I had a headache. My wife accepted it and told me she didn't mind and went sleeping after kissing me. I felt sick inside and could not really sleep that night because of nightmares I had of my wife screwing my boss time after time while making a fool out of me behind my back. Around 2 a.m. I stepped out of my bed because of feeling nauseous and went to the bathroom to puke in their toilet. I did not return to the master bedroom and went downstairs to the living room where I tried to sleep at the couch. This morning around 6 o'clock I awoke wet of sweat and with a troubled mind of what to do next. I felt emotionally unstable but wanted not to show it to my wife, who at that moment still slept in our bedroom. I felt like a broken old man. I forced myself to eat a sandwich with cheese and then I went upstairs to take a shower. My wife apparently must have heard me because while I still was showering, she stepped naked inside the bathroom to join me. While we were showering together, she started to rub her body against me, which wanted or not triggered my sexual lust. At that moment I could not take it any longer because her hands were all over me, so I groped her and we made love like animals while she all the time encouraged me to take her hard while she non-stop was moaning of pleasure. Yes, at that moment I saw her not as my wife and mother of my first-born child, but I saw her as a whole pure for lust while I drove my penis time after time deep inside her vagina till moment of climax, and I could erupt deep inside her while we continued passionate kissing each other. At that moment I felt exhausted but satisfied while I looked at my wife. She smiled and we soaped each other, and later when ready and dressed again we went downstairs for breakfast together. My wife was all the time singing. I always loved the sound of her voice, so for a moment it was like yesterday. Nightmare events never had happened and that all was like it always was before. The by me yesterday witnessed obscene acts of infidelity of my wife. My wife was preparing me my lunchbox for office while we had some small talk. "Is all okay between you and your boss, Mr. Turner?" Mary asked me. At moment my wife had mentioned Jack Turner, my boss, and her secret lover. The trance of the earlier felt familiarity between me and my wife was over. I was confronted with the naked reality of adultery. It took me efforts to stay calm because I wondered why she had mentioned my boss. "Yes, babe, all goes well. Tomorrow I must give him a financial report," he asked me to prepare. "Why do you ask me about my boss?" I asked my wife while I looked her straight in their eyes. "Oh, nothing special, but it is important to have good relations with your boss, which is always good for work relations," she said while smiling at me. I smiled in return, but she did not know that my smile was faked. "All goes well at work, babe, so no worries," I replied. She walked to me and kissed me. "Good to hear," she said, and she handed me the lunchbox she had prepared for me. I go sleeping for another hour because I feel a bit tired. I have a busy day today because of an ill friend. I plan to visit to help her out, she told me. "Okay, baby, no problem," I said in return while all there time I thought, "You hypocrite snake." Deep inside myself I clearly felt I could not trust my wife anymore. My wife went upstairs and I prepared my briefcase to go to work because it was already 8 o'clock in the morning. "Honey, I go to work," I shouted upstairs to my wife. "Okay, darling. Have a nice day," she replied in return, after which I went to the main door and left the house. Inside my car I placed my briefcase at the floor of the car in front of the passenger's seat and started the engine. I placed a CD with country music in the car CD player and felt relaxed when I heard the music playing. I started to leave the parking in front of my house like I always did and noticed my wife looking at me from out of the bedroom window from between the curtains. At moment I started to leave the parking. No matter me being angry at her, I smiled slightly because part of me still loved her. And above all, she was still the mother of our unborn baby. A brief moment I had a troubling thought while hearing an inner voice asking me if I am the true father of the unborn baby, but I rejected that thought because I knew that Mary was not that monstrous to let another man let her conceive a baby while being married with me. While I drove to my work I had very mixed feelings about my wife. because part of me still loved her and was willing to forgive her if she would honor our wedlock for the rest of her life, no matter the inner pain I still felt deep inside me. Then I thought of my boss, Patrick Turner, and I wanted to make him pay for all he had done to make a fool of me while screwing my wife. I felt anger and hate while thinking of my boss. I always liked and respected my boss, but there, images of him and my wife having sex with each other were burned on the retina of my eyes and inside my mind. Yes, I felt I truly hated that man for what he had done to me and my marriage, so I had to act smart to get even. But now was not the time to act. One knew. I parked my car at their company's parking place and went to my desk at the office where I was employed. Around 10 o'clock in the morning, my boss Patrick Turner came to me while it was clear he was in a hurry. "Morrison, I expect you to deliver the sales reports for this month tomorrow because I need all data for an important meeting," he told me while slightly grinning at me while he looked at the picture of my wife Mary at my desk. "No problem, Mr. Turner," I said to him in return while looking him straight in his face while he was standing in front of me with his navy blue suit, black polished shoes, white shirt, and bordeaux red tie. "Nice, Morrison, but now I have to go because of a private meeting outside their office and I want not be late," he said to me, and then he left the office. All the time Turner was present I had to swallow my hate for that man, so I felt relieved I saw him leaving. My intuition told me something was wrong, so I told one of my colleagues I felt sick and I phoned to Human Resources Management to report me off duty because of me feeling sick, so I got permission to go home. I left the building complex of the company and went straight to my car. All the time I had a bad feeling, which did not let go of me. I started the engine of my car and went straight home while all the time hoping I was wrong and that my imagination played tricks with me while it showed again haunting images of my boss having wild sex with Mary, my wife. I left the highway while 10 minutes later I entered the streets of my hometown. My heart was bouncing the more I came near my house. Under normal circumstances I always felt happy when I drove my car back home to see my wife. I remembered my wife told me earlier this morning she would have a busy day herself while helping a sick friend, so I hoped she would not have lied to me and that the bad feeling I had would be false. I now entered the street of my house, and at the moment I saw my house I noticed a big black Range Rover SUV car being parked in front of my house. I immediately recognized that car as the car of my boss. "The fucking bastard," I said to myself after I gasped for breath. I felt overwhelmed by deep anger at that moment, but I knew I was driving a car, so I did pass my house and drove 4 streets further, where I parked my car. I took 5 minutes to calm myself down by doing breathing exercises because I was slightly hyperventilating. After I became more calm, I left my car and locked the doors and started wandering on the streets of my hometown while my mind was deeply troubled because of all kinds of thoughts and inner mind projections that did feed my fear and anger, while all the time I saw that creep of a boss of me fucking my wife, the whore. I deeply felt my marriage was nothing worth any more if my wife again would give in to that bastard creep Turner while whoring herself. I knew I could not think straight any more because my mind felt very disturbed because of these thoughts. All the time I felt the emotional pain which shredded my soul and inner being. The image of the car of my boss in front of my house had truly triggered the memories and inner mind projections of the by me yesterday witnessed obscene infidelity of my wife who let herself screw shamelessly in my bedroom and in my bed while she also let him unload himself inside her while not thinking of the baby which grows inside her womb. I get tears in my eyes because of me being loaded with emotional pain because I still consider the conceived baby in the womb of my wife Mary as the fruit of true love between me and her. So now I wander on the streets of my hometown, and now do you know my story up till now? Now, I feel lonely and my life is a real mess. I have nobody to talk with and I have nobody I can trust for real, I said to myself while coughing. A woman at a bicycle does pass me but I hardly notice her and I doubt she had paid any attention to me while she was cycling on the street next to the sidewalk, where I move myself forwards while walking in the direction of my house. I know I must regain full control of myself and clear my mind so I can think straight of what to do with the situation I'm in right now. So for a moment I stand still and punch myself at the right cheek of my face. The felt pain sensations caused by the hard punch brings me back to my senses while I gasp for air. I take a few minutes to do breathing exercises to calm myself as unobtrusively as possible so nobody notices my inner pain and inner conflicts. The images of my wife and Turner, her lover, are still present but suppressed and buried as far as possible. Deep down I was hoping that Turner and my wife would end their affair and that the visit at my house would be strictly business, but my intuition told me that all would be false hope and that I had to prepare myself at a worst-case scenario related to my marriage with Mary and that a divorce would probably the best solution if no other options would be available to save my marriage. I shake my head and walked further. I was now nearby my house and again my heart was bouncing because of all stress and tension. A few minutes later I was at my front door, but I decided at first to try to peek through part of the living room window to find out if I could enter the house without anybody noticing me. I went to the living room window and carefully I started to peek to see if the living room was clear. I almost got a shock at moment I saw my wife with her white dress pulled up to above her waist sitting at the knee of Turner while his hands were clearly visible for me, stimulating her vagina while both were passionately kissing each other and her hand all the time did stroke his penis which was outside the split of his trousers. I took my smartphone and started to take pictures of what I was seeing while all the time I felt sick and had difficulty not to puke. Now I have evidence, I said to myself, because I wanted to prove adultery in case of a divorce. My wife started to shake heavily while screaming her pleasure, which I could hear very clear. No matter fact, I was standing outdoors next to the window. Let's go upstairs. We have all the time to play patty boy. I did hear my wife say to my boss. My blood was boiling and I felt extreme anger sensations inside myself, but I knew I had to remain calm. The fucking bitch and there. Fucking bastard, I thought by myself while I sneaked away from the window while waiting a few minutes before entering the main door and sneaking myself through the doorway inside my own house. Home sweet home, I thought sarcastically at the moment I was inside my own house while acting carefully to not get detected by my wife and Turner. While being downstairs I could hear my wife moaning loudly. No matter fact she was upstairs with Turner. You bitch, I thought, and I went upstairs while all the time pressing myself to stay cool. At all cost I needed to stay in control of myself. The bile tension and stress raised adrenaline levels inside my body made that I was extremely focused at my environment while I slowly moved in the direction of the master bedroom, where my wife and Turner were having their sexual escapades. I could clearly hear my wife moaning. The last 2 meters I crawled to the master bedroom because of the door being wide open. It was clear to me that my wife and Turner didn't expect anybody present to catch them during their act of adultery. I smiled because I knew that Turner was also married, and I felt the urge to send evidence of his adultery to his wife so it would ruin his wedlock to like he wrecked my marriage. I peeped inside the master bedroom and saw Turner licking the vagina of my wife while I fought with myself to not to kill him, so again I took some pictures of what was happening while my wife all the time was moaning. You fucking slut, I thought, because I did not see her as my wife anymore. Turner now positioned himself on top of my wife while his penis slit into her vagina. He started to pump my wife slow but steady while she held him tight between her legs and arms while moving with him at their rhythm of sexual lust. I did not felt any jealousy but only pure anger and hate for what I witnessed right now in front of me, but I knew I had to stay calm, so I took some more snapshots with my smartphone. Take me, Patty boy. If this baby of ours gets born, I want you to make me another baby. Jack doesn't know. So take me, Mary said with a moaning voice while surrendering herself totally to Turner, who became more aggressive by now because of him knowing he could impregnate Mary again with Jack Morrison, his employee, being unaware of him breeding his wife. You are a super slut, Mary. I love it. And it is fun to know that your husband Jack knows nothing. Here I come, baby, Turner said to my wife, while he moved his penis faster inside her vagina, after which he screamed and then collapsed at my wife's naked body. Keep him inside me, baby, I come to, she screamed while she started to shake and move wildly underneath Turner, and then both started to lick and kiss each other's face while breathing heavily. I had taken several extra pictures with my smartphone, but all the time I was in total shock, so I took the pictures instinctively. I was shocked because I just found out that the baby inside the womb of my wife Mary wasn't my baby at all. My heart felt deep pain because of all their months I had truly thought that the little baby growing inside the womb of Mary was the fruit of her and my love. I felt totally broken by now, but I knew that Turner and Mary may not notice me, so I tried to suppress my inner pain. I love you, Mary, you are a great fuck, Turner said to my wife. I love you to Patty boy, you are my boy forever. Mary said to him. Both were sweating and I could clearly smell the scent of heavy sex, but I blocked all out because I needed to stay focused. Do you still remember the first time I fucked you? Turner asked my wife. Yeah, it was about half a year ago. At the company party Jack took me with him, Mary said. I was double shocked after I overheard their private talk between Mary and his boss. You dirty fucking slut, you let yourself screw by a man you never had seen earlier. What for a slut have I married? I thought while I constantly fought with myself not to explode in anger and to stay cool. You were all the time dry humping me during our first dance after Jack gave me permission to dance with you. Mary continued her tale while grinning. You are a fucking whore, Mary, I thought. Yeah, and when Jack was occupied by his colleagues you took my hand and pulled me with you to the toilets where you started to finger my vagina after you had pulled my panties down, and then you started to fuck me hard and fast, and yeah, I liked it being taken that way like a true slut. Jack knew nothing that happened between us both at the company party, Mary continued while she and Turner started to laugh. Yeah baby, and the other time I screwed you here at home several times while Jack was asleep upstairs. It was extremely exciting, but I had to hold my hand at your mouth so you did not scream during your moments of orgasm, he said. While both kept laughing. Yeah, I loved the time when Jack was passed out because of alcohol and you screwed me right in front of him, but he was unconscious, but I came hard at moment I had my orgasm, Mary said while she started to play with Turner's penis. You are a true she-devil, Mary. Dear, he said to her. He took a bottle from the floor which was filled with water. He took some sips and then passed it to my wife, who drank more of it. Time for round 2, baby, Turner said to Mary. Yeah animal, go ahead, I need it, and Jack thinks I'm gone to visit a sick friend of mine, so fuck me. Animal, Mary said to Turner. Nice baby. This morning I gave him extra orders for a report he has to present me tomorrow, so he will be extremely busy at office, Turner replied. Mary then groped Turner and both started to kiss each other passionately. I had taken enough pictures as evidence for a legal case of adultery, but now I had overheard all that my wife and Turner, my boss, had told each other during their bed conversation. I was extremely furious because now I knew that my wife and my boss had played me as the fool I was only for their own sexual pleasure and egocentric needs, like their sexual psychopaths they are. I could hear Mary moaning loudly again, what a fucking bitch, I thought, while at same time I heard my wife say, suck my tits baby and suck hard. Yeah babe, now fuck me hard, I need it babe. Come on harder babe. Stick your finger in my ass, I need to come. Feed our baby with your seed, you animal. What a perverse screwbox cow you are, Mary, I thought in return, while the house was filled with sounds of sexual passion because of the hard sex between Mary and Turner. It made me feel sick. My feelings for Mary, my wife, were now reduced to zero. All I felt was pure anger. I slowly sneaked away from the master bedroom while crawling back to the stairs. I went downstairs while being pleased that my wife and Turner had not noticed my presence. All the time I had spied them while collecting evidence for a legal case based at my wife's infidelity if needed. Downstairs I took a soft drink from the refrigerator while I still noticed that Turner and my wife had wild sex with each other. "You are a fucking nympho bitch, Mary. That's for sure," I said to myself while I went to the front door so I could leave the house. I smiled because by now I knew what I had to do in order to escape the nightmare I'm now part of. I now know that I have to break free. Now I know truth of all that happened to me during the past time while being played by two monster psychopaths who use me for their own evil games of lust and personal agendas. I went straight to my car and drove to the city to do some shopping to make me feel good. Yes, I now know clearly of what I have to do step by step to liberate myself and to set me free. I start to grin while listening to the radio in my car where a radio talk show was going on with as main subject human relationships. While I was driving my car to do my shopping, I felt I finally was in control of myself, as if I was a new reborn person. Now I knew truth of what was happening behind my back and how I get manipulated by sociopaths with no sense of moral and with no conscience. I parked my car and went to several drugstores where I bought sleeping pills, after which I went to the liquor shop where I bought 3 bottles of original French wine, and I was pleased with it. I had banned all negative thoughts out of my mind and suppressed the haunting mind projections of my boss and my wife having an extramarital affair, and them all the time playing me and manipulating me and laughing at me behind my back. I was totally focused at things I had to do, and that all made me feel happy and smile. I wanted to surprise my wife, so went to a flower boutique and bought 2 dozens of red roses. I felt really good, so I drove all the way to a trailer dealer to buy me a small closed trailer, after which I went to a construction market to buy bricks, mortar and tools. I was pleased with my day off shopping, and I noticed that it would be time to go home. After watching time at my watch, I knew that I would not be in time to be home at the regular dinner time with my wife. While still at a parking, I picked up my smartphone to dial the number of my wife. "Hi honey, it's me, I will be home." About half an hour later, as usual, because of me being jammed in traffic. "Is that a problem?" I asked my wife after she had answered my phone call by opening the mobile phone connection. "No, Jack. That is no problem at all. Just take all time needed and arrive home safely. I will keep the food I prepared warm, so I see you later, my love," my wife told me, and she broke the mobile phone connection. It was odd to me because that short phone call gave me still a sense of warmth and a feeling of deep connection with my wife Mary. I learned to know my wife 11 years ago, and we had a great time together when we were still dating. I married my Mary about 9 years ago, and no matter fact that it was a small wedding with family and a few friends, we had a great day together. And we have an almost 9 years history together as a married couple, for better and for worse. I saw inner mind projections of some of the happy moments with my wife in my mind, which still made me smile because she was always be there in good times and in bad times to support me and to support us while I did same for her. Tears were running spontaneously out of my eyes because of These memories because I could not understand why my Mary was changed in the Mary she became. After she had met my boss Turner, I cursed fact that I introduced her half a year ago to my boss at the company party. I hated my boss for the way he controls my wife and the way he destroys my marriage and him making a fool of me while my wife has surrendered herself to him and supports him at all levels of evil deeds and sexual escapades, as if I do not mean anything for her and as if our marriage is nothing more than a farce for her. Would Mary have a split personality? Is she a schizophrenic? Why did she give in to Turner months ago? What do I mean to her? What did I do wrong? I asked myself and took a minute time to restore my old self while wiping my tears out of my eyes. I needed to stay focused at what I had to do no matter what. I knew that my mission was my first priority and that I had to execute my plans to set myself free. I took a deep breath and started my car with the attached trailer and went home because I had to face my wife, and dinner was waiting. I parked my car and disconnected the small trailer. The trailer was totally closed with a hatch at their backside so nobody could see what's inside the small trailer. I took the bag with the bottles of wine and the pills out of the car with me and the bouquets with red roses and went to the front door of my house. I rang the door and bell. After a few minutes my wife opened the door. "Hi honey, did you forget your keys?" Mary asked me. "No baby, here for you," I replied while I showed her the roses I bought for her. Mary in return was happily surprised I gave her the roses. "Thank you, I love it," she said to me while she kissed me so our tongues played with each other for some moments. It felt so good to me, that intimate moment I had with my wife at that moment, that I almost forgot her double life and her evil deeds behind my back. I entered our house and placed my jack at the coat rack. "Dinner is ready and served," Mary told me. "Here baby, I bought 3 bottles of French wine, because I plan to invite my boss this Saturday here at our home for a joint dinner and to discuss my future at the company," I said to Mary while I handled her the bottles of wine. Mary again was surprised, but I noticed that it clearly pleased her that I invited my boss Patrick Turner for a private business dinner at home this upcoming Saturday. "You totally surprises me with your plans, but I love it darling. I will prepare all so you can discuss your future with your boss this Saturday," she told me, while she gave me a wet kiss and walked to the kitchen to store the bottles of wine inside a small liquor cabinet, after which she went to the living room to join me at the dinner table. "How was your day?" Mary asked me. "I had a rough day while working at reports for my boss, but later that day I felt not good, so I melded me sick. Later I did buy the roses and the wine. I did buy the wine because I need to discuss my future in regards of the company with my boss, so I thought of a private dinner here at home this Saturday," I replied my wife. "You told me you felt sick. What happened?" Mary asked. "I got dizzy baby and I felt lightheaded and stressed because of all work ordered by my boss Turner, so I told HRM that I was sick and would be absent for a few days to get better, and I asked if that would be no problem. It was no problem, so I got permission to go home to recover and to restore my health. I told my wife while I looked her in her eyes. It was clear that Mary didn't felt comfortable with me being home for a few days, but she adapted no matter fact that I sensed she felt a bit disappointed of me being home the upcoming days. "It is okay, Jack," she said, "I have to be with my sick friend the upcoming days, so you have the house at your disposal. I already mentioned I have to take care of my sick friend." Mary continued her talk to me. "No problem, baby," I said to her. "Good, that's then settled. When will you contact your boss for the by you planned private business dinner here at our place?" Mary asked me while she looked at me. "I will do it tonight after dinner. Because it can be that Mr. Turner has other plans for himself, and if that's the case then I have to reschedule the private dinner meeting," I told her. "That's good, darling," she replied in return. "How was your day, babe?" I asked my wife. "Oh, nothing special. I went to my sick friend to help her, but we had also a great time together, and it seems she is recovering well as far as I can notice, but my presence is required the upcoming days," my wife told me. My heart changed into ice. At that moment when I caught her at lies, she told me about her so-called friend and she being with her. Projections of the sexual encounters of my wife with my boss yesterday and today again popped up into my mind, and it took me efforts to suppress it all and to have dinner with my wife at the same table. I felt I had to puke but could refine myself while focusing at my mission. "Is all okay, Jack?" Mary asked me because of fact that she noticed that something was wrong with me. "No, baby, all is okay. I just felt I'm still not recovered and sick myself, so it's good I melded myself sick at their company so I can restore my health while here at home," I said to Mary. "I understand, but take it easy, honey. I don't want you to get sicker," my wife told me, and I noticed she was seriously worried about my health and well-being, which gave me a moment of good feeling about her because I sensed I was not completely dead in her eyes. The good feeling moment did not last long because of all lies in regards of our marriage and fact of me knowing that she is all the time playing me, which could be noticed at moment she told me to take care of her friend, who was used as a synonym for my boss, who I deeply hated since moment I found out that he was nothing more than a predator who takes and manipulates and who destroys while I am his plain target and my wife his willing bed. I know that bastard controls my wife emotionally, physically and sexually, and that he is the evil mastermind who manipulates and destroys my marriage and who impregnated my wife at will as a result of it. "How are your health and our baby doing?" I asked my wife after we had eaten our dinner and after we had cleaned all up. "I'm fine. The baby is developing well and I take care of my health by taking extra vitamins and minerals and by being careful of what I eat and drink, as you know, but thank you for asking," she answered me. "Here, feel our baby growing inside me," Mary said to me while she took my hand and placed it at her belly. I was happy that the baby in the womb of my wife was developing well. No matter fact, I knew truth that the baby was not conceived by me, but it made me feel sad to notice that my wife played me as a fool by acting as if I am the true father of the baby, as if the baby was conceived as fruit of our love. I quickly suppressed my upcoming anger and took my phone Who do you want to call? Mary asked me at moment she noticed me having my mobile phone in my hands while she took the remote control of the television set to start the TV because she wanted to watch her favorite soap series she followed since more than 2 years by now. I need to phone my boss to find out if he has time to visit us for the private dinner business meeting for this upcoming Saturday, I told her while I saw my wife sitting at the couch. Okay, take your time. I'm now watching television, she said. I took a deep breath by now because I needed to contact the man I hated deeply to invite him in my house if he had time to come, so I took a minute to focus myself at my boss to clear my mind so I could call him without being distracted by my hate for him. I dialed their number of my boss Patrick Turner. Mr. Turner, it's me Jack Morrison, I told my boss at moment we had a mobile connection. Oh hello Jack, are the reports you are working on already ready? Turner asked me while it was clear to me that he didn't know yet that I had melded myself sick. No sir, I did report me sick at HRM, so I have a few days off to recover, I told him. Sorry to hear you are sick. What is the reason you are calling me in private? Turner then asked me. I wanted to invite you for a private dinner planned by me and my wife this Saturday so I also can discuss my future at their company. Do you have time to visit my house for the planned dinner this Saturday? I asked my boss. While a moment of silence took place. I had some plans with my wife that day, but I will reschedule it so I can come to your house for the dinner and to discuss your future if that is what you want, Jack. He answered me. That would be splendid. Can you come at 19:00 hours? I asked my boss. No problem, I see you then at your place at 19:00 hours sharp, and it would be my pleasure to see your lovely wife again, so do her my greetings and no worries, I have your address in the personnel files. Get well soon, Turner said to me, and he broke the mobile phone connection. What a fucking hypocrite, I thought, but I was happy that he could visit my house this Saturday and that my timetable related to my mission is still intact. I was happy that the first stage of my plans was successfully ended. That night my wife wanted to make love to me while she lay in bed and openly started to finger herself in her vagina with her legs wide spread open, while all the time she played with my penis till she placed herself on top of me and slid my penis deep inside herself while she started to moan. At moment she began to ride me. Sick or not, I need you to fuck me, and I notice your penis is willing to serve me well. Feel how wet I am and how well he slides inside me, my wife told me while moaning. All the time I started to pinch and pull her nipples, which she clearly liked. Then I went up and rolled her at her back and started to fuck her like the nympho bitch she was. It clearly felt good being between the thighs of my wife while fucking her hard and fast while enjoying each orgasm she had. During the ride, I could not hold it much longer because of her vagina strongly squeezing my penis, and she loudly moaning like the bitch in Heat she actually was to me, because I didn't see her as my wife anymore after all she had done behind my back, but right now it was all about pure lust, so I started to ejaculate my sperm deep inside her vagina while our tongues all the time played with each other, and she got a strong orgasm, so her vagina squeezed all last drops out of my penis while her body did shake and we both breathed heavily. I kept my penis inside her vagina while our lust juices got mixed and scent of sex and sweat could be noticed. "Please babe, do fuck me again," my wife begged me several times, and her begging made my penis harden again. "Get on your elbows and knees," I ordered my wife after I took my hard penis out of her vagina. Mary quickly went in there desired position at our bed, and immediately I mounted her slippery vagina with my penis and started to fuck her while all the time squeezing her tits while she non-stop was moaning of pleasure. Again I took my penis out of her vagina while she was unwilling to let me go, but I took her juices and started to prepare her ass, and moments later I slowly slide my penis deep inside her tight ass hole while my wife all the time was moaning and telling me to go deeper till my penis was totally buried inside her asshole. I started to fuck her ass in a steady rhythm till moment I erupted deep inside her ass, and we both collapsed at the bed and needed time to recover from the hard fuck. I rolled off the back of my wife and pushed several fingers inside the ass of my wife and then let her lick my fingers clean while my other hand all the time had several fingers deep inside her leaking vagina while finger fucking her. That way till she again had an orgasm and her vagina contracted around my fingers. What a bitch, I thought while I let her lick the fingers of that other hand too. I rolled Mary at her back and positioned myself with my head between her legs and started to lick and tongue fuck her vagina while all the time paying extra attention to her clitoris, which was clearly too much for my wife, so she screamed and got another orgasm while her thighs almost choked me, but I loved it because I loved the taste of her vagina and her juices. We both drank lots of water and I started to suck her tits hard, which made Mary desire for another round of sex, so she started to suck my shrunken penis to try to erect him to full glory, and I loved it all because I saw her as the whore she was and not as my wife. "You are good, baby," I told my wife while she was mumbling because all the time she had my now again erect penis in her mouth while sucking me hard. I knew she needed her dosage fresh protein, so while she sucked me hard I started to throat fucking her, which made her almost choke, so lots of her saliva slid out of her mouth, but we both loved it. I could not hold it any longer and I unloaded myself inside her mouth and throat while she swallowed all. What a bitch, I thought again while I felt totally drained and exhausted, but deep down I was proud of my wife because something inside me still loved her. So we lay down for 10 minutes at the king-size bed next to each other while all the time I stroke her hair. And at times I gave her a kiss, but all the time we said nothing to each other. This was truly one of the best fucks in my life, I thought. Then I kissed her and stood up to go to the bathroom to shower myself. 10 minutes later my wife joined me and we washed each other like we always did. I held her tight while kissing her and looking her in the eyes. It gave me a good feeling. Mary smiled and she to hold me tight while our naked bodies felt like one. This feels so good, I thought while tears filled my eyes because I also knew the other side of my wife and her betrayal of our marriage. But right Now I hold her tight in my arms while the water of the shower gave an extra dimension to this scene of close togetherness. My wife and I kissed each other, then we dried each other and went to the kitchen where we, while all the time naked, prepared ourselves a sandwich and a drink to consume. After which we went to bed for a long sleep. Wednesday. That early morning I woke up with an erect penis because of Mary wanking me, and at moment she noticed I was awake she positioned herself on top of me while guiding my penis inside her vagina. I need my early morning fuck, as you know, my love, she said to me while she started to ride me. No baby, I replied, and let her do all work while all the time she slowly rode my penis, so all became a long, slow and extremely pleasant fuck while I noticed several orgasms based at the nature of her vaginal contractions and her moans while I played with her tits and looked at her with a smile, while at moments encouraging her to continue till moments I erupted my seed deep inside her vagina. Mary and I showered together and ate breakfast together till moment she took her phone. Who do you need to call? I asked my wife. I need to call my friend who is sick. You know I have to visit her today and the upcoming 2 days, she replied. Of course, I almost forgot it, sorry baby, I said, while I knew she was again lying to me, which made me feel sad deep down because now am I knew for sure I had to execute my whole mission and not only the part related to my boss. My wife went to the kitchen so she could have her private conversation by phone, after which she came back to me. All is settled now, so you have the house for yourself today and the upcoming 2 days, my wife told me with a smile. I have to go right now, so be a good boy when I'm gone. See you later, babe. She continued. Then she gave me a kiss and left the house while she took her car and drove away. Yeah bitch, you meet your lover. Have fun as long as it lasts, I spoke to myself while being home alone. I was happy I got the entire house for myself right now, so I went to the entree hall next to my front door and removed part of the carpet so a hatch got visible. I removed the hatch and took a flashlight out of the hall closet and studied the space underneath the house, so I was happy to notice that the crawl space under my house was completely dry. I went to my trailer and took out a shovel, and went back to the house and went through the removed hatch space into the crawl space under my house and started to dig. It was heavy work to do, but after a few hours of digging I was pleased with the space I already had created under the house. The crawling space under the house was now changed into an extended space where I could stand and walk under my house. The sand and dirt from under my house I had stored into container bags which I had temporarily placed in the hall. I climbed out of the created cellar space and started to relocate the container bags loaded with sand and dirt that came out of the cellar space to the back garden. I was sweating heavily because of all hard work, and I was pleased with the gained results up till now. I placed back the hatch at its regular place at the whole floor and covered all up with the floor carpet. I started to clean the hall and then I prepared myself some food and took a shower. I looked at the clock in the living room and expected my wife could be back home in about an hour, so I had to rush myself because I had to go to the construction market to buy me a small stairs, so I went to my car and drove to the construction market where I could buy a small black metal stairs, after which I went home. I placed the small stairs inside the by me created temporary walking space under the house at level of the hatch opening, and I was pleased to notice that all did fit. I had no time to lose, so again I placed the hatch back at its original place and restored the floor. About 15 minutes after I was finished with my work today, while creating a cellar space, my wife came back home and joined me in the living room where I was watching television. Mary looked a bit exhausted, but I did as if I had not noticed it, so I stood up from the couch and walked to her and gave her a kiss. "How is your friend doing?" I asked her. Mary looked at me. "She is okay," was all she said, while she did avoid more contact by going upstairs. A few minutes later I did hear her in the shower. "So bitch, you had a long day with your lover?" I thought, and started to prepare dinner because I sensed Mary was not in the mood to prepare dinner tonight. I felt very tired too, so I prepared myself an extra strong coffee black to somehow mask exhaustion of my own. Half an hour later Mary joined me. At the moment I had prepared a simple dinner of potatoes with vegetables and meatballs for us both. "Is anything wrong, baby?" I asked my wife. "No, why asking?" Mary asked me in return. "You look a bit tired," I said. "Yes, I feel a bit tired because I had a long day," she said, and we started to eat our food. We did watch some television programs together, and then we decided to go sleeping early. I was happy to notice Mary was not in the mood for sex because I myself felt exhausted, so I was happy I could sleep early. Thursday. The next day at moment I awoke I noticed that Mary was gone, but at the door she had taped a note. She had written and attached to the door, "Jack, you was still asleep, so I let you sleep. I'm gone to help my friend today, but I will be home tonight around dinner time. Have a nice day yourself, kiss." Mary was written at the note. "I know what you do with your so-called friend, bitch," I said to myself, and went to the small trailer to relocate all bricks and mortar to my improvised cellar. I knew I would have a busy day again, so I did measure the surface because I needed to make an improvised floor of sidewalk tiles. I went to the building market and bought me the by me needed tiles, which I loaded in my trailer and unloaded at home. I started to build my sidewalk-based floor and was pleased with the results. I started to build solid walls by using the bricks and the mortar, but I had to drive 3 extra times to the building market before I had enough bricks and mortar needed to build all the walls. I had placed 2 spotlights at the ceiling of the self-build but not yet ready cellar, which I screwed at the ceiling, which was also the floor of my house above the self-build cellar space. I looked at all work I had done in 2 days of hard work. I knew that tomorrow was my last day at home alone, and that the day after tomorrow my boss would arrive because of me having him invited for a private dinner this Saturday with consent of my wife. I knew that my wife that Saturday wanted to prepare the dinner table for our guest, my boss Patrick Turner, who also was her secret lover. I smiled because I was happy that neither my wife nor my boss knew that I knew about the sexual escapades and their secret affair, and me having pictures of their adultery stored in my smartphone. I watched their pictures at my smartphone, but it was as if I was numb for the pictured naked reality. I went upstairs and uploaded the pictures to a protected file at my computer, and I also mailed it to my email account in case something went wrong and evidence would get lost or destroyed, so I was happy I had secured copies of all pictures that could serve as evidence for a potential legal case in court if needed. I watched at my watch to look at the time, and I noticed that my wife could be home in about 20 minutes, so I went downstairs to my improvised self-build cellar to inspect it. I knew that I had to finish all brick walls for tomorrow because of deadlines I had in regards of the Saturday, the dinner meeting at my house. I left the improvised cellar and restored the whole floor so nobody knew underneath the house was built a cellar. I smiled because my wife had also no knowledge about my secret cellar. I went to the kitchen and started to prepare a dinner for me and my wife, because I wanted to surprise her and not to make her suspicious of what I did do the past 2 days. While I was busy cooking foods in the kitchen, my wife joined me in the kitchen. I was surprised, because no matter fact I knew she could arrive any minute. I had not noticing her arriving and stepping inside the house. Mary did greet me with a kiss which showed me that she was in a good mood. "Hi baby, I did not hear you enter the house. How was your day with your friend?" I asked. Mary: "All goes well. She expects to be recovered this weekend. That means that I only have to visit my friend tomorrow for the last time." I also told her that this Saturday I could not be with her because of our expected guest here at home, and that I would be busy preparing the evening dinner because of the visit of our guest. My friend understands all and hopes that we will have a nice meeting here at home, my wife told me while smiling. "How about you? How was your day here at home?" Mary asked me while she had her hand briefly at my shoulder as sign of close intimacy. "I had an easy day here at home while resting and watching a movie, and I feel my health is recovering well," I did answer my wife while continuing my food preparation activities. "Glad to hear you are recovering rapidly. The food smells good. I will go upstairs to clean myself and then I will join you if I'm ready, because I was longing for a long warm shower on my way home," Mary said while she made a turn to go upstairs for her warm shower. "Okay baby," I answered while I saw her walking to the stairs. At moment dinner was cooked. I prepared the dinner table and served all foods. "Mary, dinner is served," I shouted upstairs. "I'm coming in 5 minutes, Jack," my wife answered in return. My wife entered the living room while wearing a sexy black dress. "I love it baby," I told her. "I know you do darling," she replied. "The evening is still young," she continued while she winked at me and seductive played with her tongue while licking her lips while I looked at her and smiled. It was like old times, I thought. We enjoyed our dinner of fried beef with fried potatoes and green beans while drinking a red wine. Later that evening we sat at the couch while watching a movie. All the time Mary had her head at my chest, which also felt like the old times before I found out all about her infidelity. With one hand I slowly pulled the black dress of my wife till above her waist and was pleased to Notice she did not wear undies, so I started to massage her inner thighs while she remained silent all the time till moment I did near her vagina and started to play with her outer lips and then focusing all my attention at her clitoris, which I started to rub and massage, so she began to moan. I continued to do so till moment she pressed her legs together because of an orgasm hitting her while she started to breathe heavier. I loved it and started to kiss her. She started to kiss me back in return, so it did not take much time before we started to undress ourselves. Mary lay down at the couch and opened her vagina, so I maneuvered myself to her and started to lick her while enjoying the taste of her vagina. I paid full attention at her clitoris and then I started to tongue fuck her vagina till she got a releasing orgasm. I went upstairs to the private cabinet of my wife and took out her toy vibrator and rushed back downstairs where Mary still lay down at the couch with her legs wide spread. I kissed her mouth while our tongues started to play with each other, and with my free hand I moved the already activated vibrator to her vagina and started to move it in and out, which was much appreciated by my wife, who moved her hips with me. I removed the vibrator and positioned myself between the legs of my wife and lay down on top of her while my penis entered her vagina and deeply penetrated her, so we started to slow fuck each other for 20 minutes till moment I released my sperm deep inside her while she at the same moment got her orgasm, while we both looked each other in the eyes to enjoy our joint orgasm. My wife smiled. "Come, let's go upstairs and sleep in each other's arms." "Because I'm tired, my love," she said to me, so I stood up and picked her up and dragged her in my arms upstairs and put her on the bed. I joined her and so we slept the night naked in each other's arms. Friday. The next morning my wife and I awoke around the same time. We kissed each other. "Not now, darling," my wife told me at moment she noticed I wanted to have sex with her. "I feel bit nausea this morning and I have to go to my friend to help her this last time," she continued. "Do you suffer from morning sickness because of our baby?" I asked my wife. "Yes, a little," she said, and she went to the shower. "Can I join you?" I asked. "Okay," Mary answered, so we showered together, and after we were dressed we ate our breakfast together. "I have to go, darling," Mary told me, and she gave me a kiss and went out to go to her friend who was sick as told by her. "Bitch," was all I could say to myself, because I knew she went straight to my boss, who was her secret lover. I cleaned the house and took my car with trailer to go one last time to the construction market and to a hardware store, after which I went straight home pleased with all items I had bought. I went to my improvised cellar and started to build a second wall to split the cellar space into two parts with a small opening so one person could enter that space, and I finished the other walls. After a few hours of hard work I was pleased with the final result of the hard work. I built a heavy table in the middle of the improvised cellar space, and with usage of Abuse brand locks I attached chains to the table, while some chains got attached with heavy galvanized fence staples. I tested the strength of all attached chains and was pleased with the final results. I had several rolls of duct tape present and I had two heavy-duty pincers, a sledgehammer and a claw hammer present next to a saw and 2 Stanley knives and a set of screwdrivers and some more tools. In the corner I had present a propane torch and 2 lighters. I was pleased with the result of all work and preparations related to the past 3 days. I noticed it was late again, so I started to restore the floor in the hall so the secret improvised cellar could not be noticed. I went to the stereo installation and placed a CD in the CD player to enjoy the Fifth Symphony of Beethoven. I knew Mary would be home any minute, so I started to cook dinner and wanted to prepare a simple macaroni dish with fresh sliced tomato parts, fried cut champignons, fried onion parts, fried bacon parts and small cut garlic, while all gets mixed with the macaroni and some curry powder. Separated hard-boiled egg gets served next to a glass of white wine. I was pleased all food was ready before Mary would arrive home, so I started to serve all at the dinner table. Mary arrived, so we kissed each other, and then after she refreshed herself upstairs we enjoyed our simple macaroni dish. While eating I noticed Mary was in a very good mood. "You are in a cheerful mood, so how was your day?" I asked my wife. "I'm pleased that my friend now fully is recovered, so we had a very pleasant day together. We did play all kind of games, so I felt like a young teenager again," my wife told me while she was laughing. "Nice to hear you had a very joyful day yourself and that your friend fully is recovered," I told her. "The games you played were sexual games with my fucking boss, my dear," I thought while I felt sensations of anger which I quickly suppressed so my wife did not notice what played inside my head, and she had also no idea that I knew all about her infidelity with clear evidence of all she did do with my boss. I smiled to Mary. "Maybe if you are not tired and in their mood we two can play a game. Maybe a game of love," I said to her. We both started to laugh. After finishing our dinner we both cleaned all up, then I excused myself and went upstairs to shower myself, while Mary started to watch her favorite soap series. I came downstairs naked but with a tie, and at moment Mary saw me she started to laugh. She came to me and kissed me with passion, so my penis started to erect while my hand moved under her skirt, where I again noticed she didn't wear panties. So I bent her over the table after I had noticed her vagina was wet from my fingering actions moments earlier, and I inserted my penis inside her vagina with a hard thrust forward, so she moaned loudly for a moment, and then she started to move with me in a slow but nice rhythm while she was fully dressed except for her uplifted skirt, so I screwed her vagina with my penis while all the time I was playing with her tits and nipples, while all the time she was non-stop moaning. We fucked each other for about 25 minutes till moment I erupted deep inside her vagina, while she earlier had several orgasms, which always pleased me to notice it. I looked at the vagina of my wife where sperm was leaking out, and I smiled while we both started to kiss each other. That evening she sat at my lap with my penis inside her vagina while we both saw a comedy classic at a DVD from our private collection, which was very pleasant till I again spurted my seed inside her vagina. I still felt extremely close to my wife. No matter fact, I knew all about her secret life with my boss. So after the movie I kissed her and we went upstairs to sleep. I was very tired because of the long day and all work I had done that day, so I slept with an arm around Mary, which gave me a very close feeling of being one with my wife. Saturday. That morning Mary awoke first. She kissed me and told me she had to go shopping for the evening dinner meeting I had with my boss. I grabbed her and dragged her back in bed, so I had a fast fuck with her while I had lifted her dress and had moved her panty aside, so I slid my penis directly in her vagina, which to my surprise was very wet, so we had a short but fast fuck together. I have to clean myself fast and then I have to go, darling, because time is running and today we have to stay in line with our timetable. My wife said to me, "Okay baby, do whatever you have to do. I will join you later," I replied and gave her a kiss while she went to the bathroom to clean herself. 20 minutes later I did hear the front door, so I knew she was gone. Quickly I went downstairs and took a bottle of water, ammonia and several towels with me next to a pack of salt and placed all downstairs inside my improvised cellar. I ate my breakfast and refreshed myself. At that moment I again noticed their front door and knew that would be my wife with the groceries for today's evening dinner. "Honey, I'm home," Mary said to me. "Nice baby. Must I help you?" I asked my wife. "No Jack, I have to do it by myself because I plan to prepare a nice rice table, so you would stand in my way if I'm busy cooking today's dinner and time is slowly running out," Mary told me while she walked to the kitchen and gave me a kiss. I went upstairs to my private study room and locked the door behind me because I did not want my wife catching me right now. I started up my computer and opened my secured file with the pictures I took days ago about the adultery committed by my wife and by my boss, because I needed to sense the atmosphere and what I felt deep down to be sure if it was needed to continue my operation or if I had changed my mind in regards of my boss and my wife and their sexual escapades together. I took a deep breath and then I started to watch each picture I took about my wife's infidelity. Again I felt anger inside me, especially when I recalled by memory the way my boss and my wife really thought about me and what they had done here in my house while I was present. And all lies my wife told me so she could be together with my boss. I got the big picture complete inside my mind. I knew that stage 2 of my plan was ended this morning and that all was ready for the final stage of the plan execution. I felt strong hate against my boss Patrick Turner, but I had mixed feelings about my wife because deep down I still loved her. My mind was very troubled at this moment and I felt I could not think straight, so I punched myself in the face while images of my wife and my boss mocking me were constantly projected in my conscious and subconscious mind. I strongly felt that I had to do whatever I had to do because I wanted to break free out of this nightmare, so my mind was continued bombarded by projected images of my wife and my boss screwing each other while all the time mocking me and telling me that the baby conceived in their womb of my wife is not related to me, so I'm not the natural father because of fact that my boss is the natural father of the baby growing in the womb of my wife. I feel pure anger and hate against my boss, and I hear him clearly tell my wife that he planned to impregnate her again and that he loves it. That I am not aware that the breed babies are in fact his children, while I would all the time think that they are my natural children. My head begins to spin and I start to experience serious headaches. Then I collapse at the floor of my study and start to puke. Minutes later I come to consciousness, but I am hyperventilating, so I take a plastic bag from the corner of my study room after I crawl to that place. I started to breathe in and out inside the plastic bag so I slowly could ease down. It took several minutes before I could breathe more normal. I knew I had faced a serious anxiety attack, but I also knew that I had to do what I had to do so I could break free and break the impasse of total humiliation. Deep inside me I felt a strong emotional pain, while all the time I saw faces of my boss and my wife laughing at me, and I saw them pointing their finger at me, followed by images of them fucking each other. I had feeling I slowly went insane. I opened a drawer from my study desk and took out 2 tranquilizers to calm myself down, and I swallowed them while all the time I was sitting in the corner of my study room while conducting slow and deep breathing exercises. It took me about 20 minutes to recover. Then I shut down my computer and unlocked the door. I went to the bathroom and took a towel, toilet paper and a bucket with water and soap and started to clean the floor. Later, when I was ready and refreshed, I went downstairs where my wife was still busy cooking dinner. She had not noticed what happened to me while I was upstairs. My mind was still loaded with horrible mind projections of my wife and my boss, but I tried to neglect it, so I placed a new DVD in the DVD player and started it so I could watch a movie to distract my mind and to come to my senses, because I knew I needed a clear mind at the moment my boss would arrive in a few hours. Later I went outdoors for a short walk and I sensed that the fresh air did me good, so I went home. My wife was ready with cooking and was now preparing the dinner table with also an extra seat for our guest this evening. I went to the liquor cabinet and took out the 3 bottles of wine I bought a few days ago, and I also did not forget the sleeping pills which I slipped into my pocket. I watched their clock and I noticed that our guest could arrive any minute by now. My heart was bouncing because of the sensed stress and the tension. My wife came to me after she had refreshed herself upstairs. She looked stunning with her short red skirt and white blouse with open top buttons and a red jacket, while all was completed with red high heels shoes. Her hair was lightly curled and above shoulder length, while her makeup was extremely modest. Mary smiled at the moment she saw I approved her appearance, so she came to me and kissed me. "How do I look, Jack?" she asked me while I undressed her with my eyes and smiled. "You look more than great, baby," I said, and gave her a kiss in return. "Do you think that your boss will approve my taste, too?" Mary asked me. I felt my blood boil and anger and jealousy tried to take over me and manipulate my personality, so I took a deep breath and did all to suppress my personal feelings. "Of course, he will like it, baby. You look truly stunning," I said, with a smile to not reveal my true feelings. "Thank you, darling," my wife replied. Then she went back to the kitchen. At the moment I was happy she was in the kitchen because I started to sweat because of all stress and tension, so I rushed myself upstairs to refresh myself. At that moment I did hear the doorbell ringing and I did hear the voice of my boss. "Is Jack here?" I did hear my boss asking my wife. Yes, I did hear him upstairs, my wife replied. I moved myself to a position at the stairs without possibility that my wife and my boss could notice me. "Good," my boss told my wife while he kissed her and moved his hand under the skirt of my wife, who didn't do anything to stop him, so he felt her vagina with his hands under her red skirt, and for a moment I did hear my wife moaning, so I knew that my boss had his finger inside her vagina while he all the time was fingering my wife, and she did nothing to stop him. My mind went black at that moment, and it was like another personality took control over me. I made, "What noise upstairs, darling? Is my boss already arrived?" because I did hear the doorbell ringing. I asked my wife as if I not knew what had happened downstairs. My boss had quickly removed his hand from under the skirt of my wife. "Yes, honey, he is right here," my wife said in return to me. "We will go to the living room. Will you join us?" Mary continued while she and my boss went to the living room after my boss had placed his coat at the coat rack. "I'm joining you in a few minutes," I replied. "Take your time, Jack," I did hear my boss saying. My blood was truly boiling, but I did do all to stay calm while I quickly went downstairs to observe my boss and my wife because they thought I would be upstairs for some minutes. My boss was sitting next to my wife at the couch, and I could clearly see him squeezing the breasts of my wife through her clothes with one hand while another hand again was under her skirt fingering my wife while she softly moaned and had spread her legs a bit so he had free access to her vagina. What a slut is my wife, I thought, and I took a picture of what I just saw with my smartphone. "Your time is slowly running out, Bossman Turner," I said to myself while I put away my mobile phone. "Where is our guest?" I asked while entering their living room. My wife and my boss were both startled for a moment while my boss, as fast as possible, withdrew his hands from my wife and my wife closed her legs together. I knew that both people hoped I would not had seen anything about what just happened, so I did as if I had seen nothing that had happened while constantly fighting against my inner mind voices that screamed to get even. "He is here, dear, sitting at the couch next to me, as you now can see," she said at the moment she noticed me. I went straight to my boss. "Hello, Mr. Turner, I'm glad you could come today," I did greet my boss, while reaching him the hand for a handshake, which he took, so we had a handshake while I knew that was the hand that moments ago was under the skirt of my wife to finger her inside her vagina. "Call me Patrick today, Jake, no formalities because I'm your guest and we are not in office, Turner," my boss told me. "Nice to hear, Patrick," I replied. "Do you want a drink, Patrick?" I asked my boss. "No, not now, it's still a bit early for me," Turner replied to me. I did do as if I had an itch at my nose, and moved my hand to my nose while sniffing it, and indeed I smelled the familiar scent of my wife's vagina. The fucking bastard did indeed finger the vagina of my wife. I said to myself while I rubbed my nose and then sat down at a chair in front of the couch. My wife and my boss were clearly relieved that I apparently had not noticed what happened moments ago at the couch. But they did not know that what just happened and was confirmed by myself would determine my decision to execute the final stage of my plan, and that by doing so fate of my wife and Patrick Turner got determined. I smiled and we started to talk about our work, and my boss told my wife that he was pleased to see her again after all these months since the company party half a year ago. I have nice news to share, my wife said to my boss. What for news, Mary? Turner asked her. I'm 4 months pregnant, so Jack and I expect a baby in 5.5 months, my wife told my boss. How wonderful! Congratulations, Mary and Jack, my boss said to me and my wife while he stood up and gave a handshake to me and to my wife. Thank you, Mary said to my boss while I kept silent. We had some more small talk. My wife stood up and went to the kitchen. Can I help you, Mary? Turner asked my wife. Not needed, but if you want to help then please do so, my wife replied, after which my boss Patrick Turner stood up and went also to the kitchen. I repositioned myself a bit so I could see what happened in the kitchen. I saw my boss kissing my wife while he again for some moments had his hand under her skirt while he pulled out his penis and raised her skirt till above her waist, while he quickly pushed his penis inside her vagina, and then after a brief moment of a few in and out movements he took his penis out and put it back inside his pants. It was clear to me he quickly needed to shoot his seed inside my wife's vagina while my wife gave him freely access to her vagina to do what he needed to do. I closed my eyes to not kill them because I had to fight against voices in my head telling me to kill my wife and my boss. Minutes later my boss and my wife stepped back into the living room with prepared foods while preparing the dinner table. Jack, you let your guest all the work while you were sitting all the time, my wife said to me. I was furious, but I swallowed all anger and hate. I will help to baby, I said, and started to help preparing the dinner table. Minutes later we all sat at our seat with me next to my wife while my boss Patrick Turner sat straight at there, opposite of my wife in front of her at the dinner table. We all started to take food and ate it. During our dinner I saw the face of my wife becoming a bit reddish while she did sweat a bit and started to bite at her underlip. I suspected that she had an orgasm, so I took my pen out of my pocket and let it fall at the floor, so I picked it up while I looked under the table, where I clearly noticed that my boss had his foot under the skirt of my wife, who in return had her legs wide while he with his foot was fucking her vagina, while I also noticed that she moved her hips with him while sitting at the edge of her seat, so my boss had free access to her vagina. The fucking bitch, she let herself foot fuck by that creep of a boss of mine, and she clearly enjoys it while she sits next to me. I hate you, bitch, and I hate you more for all that you do in my house, bastard bossman, I thought while I moved back at my seat with my writing pen and pretending I had not seen anything. My boss and Mary, my wife, were clearly focused at each other till my wife could not suppress one of her moans because of an orgasm she had at that moment. Is something wrong, baby? I asked my wife, who now awoke from out of her orgasmic trance. No, darling, I think it's the baby inside my womb, so no worry, Jack, all is okay, my wife told me while she, just like my boss, quickly started to eat her foods as if nothing had happened. Indeed. So I dropped my napkin and again did peek quickly under the table, but this time my boss had his feet together at his place under the table while my wife had her legs closed. You fucking slut, I said to myself while I placed the napkin back at its place at the table. For a brief moment I observed my wife and my boss, their faces, while all the time they were eating. You prepared your husband and me a fine meal, Mary, my boss told my wife while eating further. Thank you, Mr. Turner, I mean Patrick, my wife replied to my boss. You hypocrites, I thought while I ate my food. I had difficulty to be here at the table with my boss and with my wife while I clearly did smell the scent of sex and the vagina of my wife, who was sitting next to me. I could clearly smell it because of the secret sex my wife had with my boss since moment he arrived at my house and him shooting his load inside her vagina in the kitchen, and now here after he had fucked her with his foot. It was because of her orgasm and leaking vagina that also sperm of my boss leaked. I could smell all just as the penis of my boss who had erupted inside her vagina. I have an extremely sensitive nose, so in silence I cursed my wife and my boss for all what they did do here inside my house and with each other. I had difficulty not to vomit and to kill them both. I stood up from the dinner table and went to the kitchen, where I walked straight to the liquor cabinet, and I noticed that I earlier today already had taken out 3 bottles of French wine, so I looked around me and saw them near the refrigerator, so I picked them up and placed the bottles of wine at the sink. I took out the cork of 2 of the bottles with red wine and slipped several sleeping pills I took from out of my pocket inside each bottle while waiting till all pills were solved inside each bottle of wine. The bottle with no sleeping pills was specially marked by me because it was the bottle of white wine. I knew that my boss and my wife preferred red wine because I knew their wine drinking preferences. I placed the corks back at the bottles and then I returned back to the table where my boss and my wife were still eating. Mary, I have with me there bottles of French wine I bought a few days ago, I said to my wife. Splendid, Jack, my wife replied to me. Nice, Jack, my boss also answered. I placed the bottles at the table and went back to the kitchen to take 3 wine glasses and returned back to the dinner table where Mary and my boss were laughing because of a joke my boss just told. I will laugh last, I said to myself in silence. Let me open one of the bottles. I will start opening one of the bottles of red wine, I said to nobody in special while I opened one of the bottles. Do you prefer red wine or white wine, Patrick? I asked my boss. Red wine, please, he said to me. How about you, darling? I asked my wife. Red wine, please. Jack, she answered me. I want white wine, I said to my wife and my boss, so I opened also their white wine bottle. I filled the first glass with red wine, which I gave to my boss, after which I started to fill the second glass with red wine which I gave to my wife, and then I filled the third glass with white wine which I gave to myself. All went exactly like I had planned, so I felt happy inside myself. Now let us toast on a great evening here in the Morrison residence. Cheers, I said to my boss and my wife. We all ticked each other's glass and started to drink our wine. I started to refill the glasses of my wife and my boss. At the moment they were empty, while the atmosphere improved and we all laughed while telling funny stories about happenings at the work floor. I opened the second bottle of red wine after my boss and my wife already had finished 3 drinks, so I filled the glasses up again. I need to go to the toilet, so excuse me, I said to my wife and to my boss, and left the living room to go out to the toilet to pee. Then I went upstairs to the bathroom to refresh myself. At the moment I stepped out of the bathroom, I noticed a deep silence downstairs. I slowly walk downstairs and continue my walk to the living room. I smile because I see my wife lying partly bent at the dinner table, and I see my boss lying on the floor. The sleeping pills in combination with alcohol worked fine, I said to myself while I walked to my boss to check if he still lives. Then I went to my wife to check if she still lives. I was pleased to notice that my wife and my boss were alive. Now I wanted to check my wife, and I picked her up and walked with her in my arms to the couch, where I dropped her so she lay flat at her back. I wanted to check her vagina, so I pulled up her red skirt and I could strongly smell the scent of her by my boss used vagina. I felt the insides of her vagina with my finger and all felt wet. I took out all of her clothes by now, so I totally stripped her naked, while all the time she did not react because she was still in a deep sleeping coma, so I smiled. I opened her legs and started to undress myself. I felt I had an erection, so I needed relief while I looked at my wife. Sorry baby, I said while I kissed her. And after I positioned myself at level of her vagina, I drove my penis deep inside her wet cunt and started to fuck her hard. You are a real whore, Mary, but you have a nice vagina, you stupid whore. How could you think I would not know you did fuck my boss, you fucking cow? I screamed at her. Because of me being angry at her, and while knowing she could not hear me or react at me because of the sleeping pills, while all the time I was busy to fuck her vagina hard with my penis deep buried inside her vagina. Mary started to moan. No matter fact, she was in a sort of coma sleep. Yeah bitch. You like it getting fucked and making a fool of me and of our marriage, you stupid slut, I told her, while I continued slamming my penis deep inside her vagina till moment I erupted deep inside her. While I also sensed she got an orgasm no matter her deep sleep, so I enjoyed her orgasm while I emptied my balls inside her, and her vagina milked me dry. You are a real slut cow baby, I told her. But no matter my hate, I kissed her because deep down I still loved her. I went to my boss and kicked him against his body, so I heard him moaning because of the pain I caused him, but he did not really move because of the deep sleep he was in. You fucking pig, you must know I really hate you, I said, while I spit at him and kicked him again. For a moment I felt myself a winner, and I dragged my former boss to the front door where I removed the floor hatch so I got access to the by myself build cellar, and I let my boss slide to the floor of the cellar till he lay down at the floor. I climbed inside there cellar and dragged my boss to the table. After I switched on the lights, I positioned my boss at their table and started to chain his legs and arms to the table, followed by his neck, torso and the mid part of his legs. So I was pleased to notice my boss was being chained and completely helpless at the table. I climbed up to the hall and walked to my wife Mary, who still lay naked and unconscious at the couch. I kissed her again. "Sorry baby," I said, and I picked her up and walked with her in my arms to the cellar, and slowly I let her slide to the cellar floor till I let her go, so she lay down at the floor. I went back to the kitchen and took with me a small wooden chair which I brought with me to the cellar. At moment I was back inside the cellar, I placed the chair not far from the table and positioned my unconscious wife at the chair. I took a roll of duct tape and then I started to tape my wife at their chair, and I taped her mouth so she could not move or speak, and I taped part of her legs. I was pleased with my actions, and I went back to the living room where I started to clean up the house. While taking my time, after I finished cleaning the house, I rolled back the carpet and placed back their hatch. At moment I was back inside the hall, but first I was in the by me build cellar while at the stairs. At moment I placed all back. After I was finished with placing back the carpet and floor panel hatch, I went to my boss and started to tape his mouth with duct tape. I went to my tools and took a Stanley knife and started to cut the clothes from the body of my boss while I spit at his face, because I truly hated this guy for what he had done to me and for what he had done to my wife. I was totally not pleased with my boss, but I remained silent. At moment I had stripped my boss from his clothes by cutting all from his body. I felt some satisfaction and smiled for a moment. I took duct tape and started to tape his torso at level of the midsection to the table, so he was partly taped to the table. Now I felt more pleased with my actions. I went to my water bottle and drank some water while I looked at my wife, who sat at the chair while partly taped at the chair. "Sorry baby, this is all because of you making a fool of me and you mocking our marriage and me," I told my wife while knowing she was still in deep sleep. I decided to sleep for a few hours. During my sleep I was tortured by my personal demons. I had nightmares about my wife and my boss screwing each other in front of me and making a fool of me, while all the time they were mocking me and my marriage. I awoke while sweating. I felt like being insane because of the situation I was in right now. I still felt the deep emotional inner pain because of betrayal, because my wife did betray me as her husband, and she did betray our marriage, which was sacred to me. I went up and stepped to my boss, who was still asleep. Then I checked my wife, who was also still asleep. I now went to the ammonia and took a towel which I ripped into pieces, after which I drenched one piece of the towel with ammonia and walked to my wife and held it at her nose till she started to awake. After I also hit her in her face, she slowly came to consciousness while not fully realizing where she was till she noticed me, and then she saw my boss laying on the table in front of her while he was naked and chained and partly taped to the table, and Her eyes widened and she wanted to scream and run away, but then her mind noticed she too was taped at a chair and unable to move or escape, so she screamed with a muffled voice because of her taped mouth till moment she collapsed because of her inner fears. I brought her back to consciousness with help of the with ammonia-drenched piece of towel. Do not scream or act crazy, or I have to hurt you, understand? I told my wife, who nodded her head while tears flow out of her eyes. I took my smartphone and showed her pictures I had taken of her infidelity. At moment she saw the pictures, she closed her eyes, so I hit her hard in her face. Look at each picture I took or else I will hurt you again, so open your fucking eyes, I told my wife, who out of fear immediately opened her eyes. I again showed her every picture I had taken earlier this week while I had witnessed her infidelity and her saying that her baby was the baby conceived by my boss and her having sex in my presence while I was unconscious. I was extremely angry, but I punched my wife in her bowels with no force because of her pregnancy and me still loving her. She started spontaneously to pee because of fear, while she did moan because of pain after I punched her arm with some force, while all there time tears ran freely out of her eyes. Yes baby, you let yourself fingering in your vagina in the hall. At moment my boss stepped inside her house, I saw it all. Yes baby, you had your legs wide while my boss was fingering your vagina while he sat next to you in the living room. I saw it all while I stepped inside the living room. Yes baby, you let yourself during a quickie fuck and seated in the kitchen by my boss. I saw it all from out of the living room. Yes baby, you let yourself foot fuck in your vagina under the table with your legs wide. I saw it all at moment my writing pen dropped at the floor. I saw it all last night, you fucking whore, I shouted to my wife while she kept crying. Shut up you fucking cow, I said while I hit her hard in her face so blood started to run out of her nose. I know that I'm not the father of your unborn baby, and I know that you want to let yourself impregnate again by my fucking boss, and I know you both planned it to let me think it would be my children. You are a rotten cow and a fucking whore. Marry my wife, I told my wife while grabbing her hair and hitting her face with my open hand. I noticed the deep pain and fear inside my wife's eyes, but it did do nothing to me because it was like another personality had taken over me, while a voice inside my head constantly said to kill my wife and my boss. I now went to my boss and took the same piece of towel I drenched with ammonia as I had used to awake my wife, and I put fresh ammonia at the piece of towel, after which I held it at the nose of my boss till he wild shaking awoke. Welcome back you fucking creep, I told my boss at moment I knew he was awake. You wrecked my entire marriage, you filthy cocksucker, I told my boss while I punched my fist at his bowels. Turner did moan hard, no matter the taped mouth. He saw my wife being taped at the chair near the wall, and he noticed himself being chained at the table and himself partly being taped to the table, while his eyes showed me pure fear. He tried to escape and started to shake his body while trying to remove the chains and the tape, but nothing worked. My wife saw all while she muffled screamed because of her fear. I punched my boss in his face to get his attention. You fucking bastard, I want you to see pictures of what I saw, I told him. I activated again my smartphone and showed my boss each picture I had taken while he screwed my wife, and when he had seen all I looked him in his eyes at close range and I spit him in his face. You truly wrecked my marriage and corrupted my wife, you sick bastard, I told my boss while I punched his nose with one punch so it broke and blood spurted out. The man started, muffled, to scream of pain. I hate you, fucking creep. You impregnated my wife and wanted to breed more babies with her. Yes, I know all, you sick bastard, I told him. I also saw that last night you fingered my wife's vagina in the hall and in the living room, and I saw you screwing her in the kitchen and foot-fucking her cunt under the table while I was sitting next to her, you fuck. You fucking sick creep, I told him while he looked extremely scared. I will take care of you, sick bastard, so you never again can fuck a woman, I yelled at my boss while I hit his upper torso with my fist so he again did moan because of pain. I went to the corner where I took a lighter and the propane torch and I activated the torch with the lighter. Look at me and my boss, you bitch, or else I will burn you too, I shouted at my wife while I walked at her, and she held her eyes open because she was extremely afraid for the fire. I went to my boss. Now you will never again make babies, my friend, I told him, while I took the torch and went to his penis. I lowered the flame of the torch to a minimum and started to burn the head of the penis, while every time burning it shortly so I could enjoy the pain of my muffled screaming boss, whose body was constantly shaking of pain while the head of his penis slowly burned so the smell of burning flesh filled the room of the cellar. I went to my boss. Are we having fun, my friend? I asked him. Then I started to burn his toes. One toe each time got burned slowly till my boss passed out because of the pain. Do you have fun, baby? I asked my wife while I looked her in the eyes. Mary did not react, so I punched her arm. Do you have fun, darling? I asked her again. She now muffled no. I could hear it, so I kissed her. I know you don't have fun, baby. Babe, I said to my wife. I again used ammonia to awake my boss. I sensed my boss was mentally totally broken, but I was not ready yet. Look at this naked picture of my wife because your left eye won't see anything anymore, I told my boss while I showed him my smartphone with a naked picture of my wife. Then I took a Stanley knife and started to cut out the left eye of my boss while he all the time was screaming till he passed out. I did not wanted my boss to die because I knew it was not his time to die yet, so I did awake him again. Well, my friend, I think you don't need your balls with baby making seed anymore, so I will castrated you, my friend, I told my boss, and I took my Stanley knife and started to cut open the scrotum and cut out each of the balls of my boss. I went to my wife with one of the balls of my boss in my hand. Look at this fresh ball of the father of your child, my love. I want you to have it, so I remove the tape from your mouth, and if you scream or make any noise, I will cut your bastard child out of your womb while you're alive and fully conscious. Understood, my love? I screamed to Mary, my wife. Mary nodded her head, so I knew she understood. what I meant, so I removed the tape and told her to open her mouth and to eat the removed ball of my boss. "You are insane," my wife said, and I hit her with my open hand in her face. "No sound," I told you, "and now open your mouth, fucking whore, or I pull out all your teeth," I told my wife, and she opened her mouth, so I put one of the balls I had cut out of the scrotum of my boss inside the open mouth of my wife. "Good girl," I said to her, and then again I taped her mouth so she had to eat there ball or she could keep it inside her mouth while unable to spit it out or to vomit. I saw tears flowing out of the eyes of my wife. I went to my boss and awoke him again. "Yes, it is fun time, my friend," I told him, and again I started to activate my torch and started to burn each finger of the right hand from my boss, because it was the hand he had used to finger my wife. "Now you will never again finger a woman with your right hand, my friend," I said to my boss, while all the time he was muffled, screaming of pain till moment he passed out, but I continued burning each finger till all his fingers were burned. I was pleased with the execution of the final stage of my mission at this moment and started to laugh while I looked at the tortured body of my still living boss, and I also looked at my frightened, shaking wife, who was taped at her chair with one of the balls of my boss inside her mouth, unless she had eaten and swallowed it. I felt horny, so I went to my wife and took out my penis. "Don't resist, my dear, and don't fight me or I will kill you extremely slow, my love. Do you understand?" I asked my wife, and she nodded her head as sign she understood me. I now took my Stanley knife and started to cut the tape open at level of the legs of my wife, and I freed her lower underbody. I started to insert one of my fingers inside the vagina of my wife and started to stimulate her clitoris till moment she became wet because of flowing her juices. It was a fact that my wife was a horny bitch, and no matter her ordeal, her vagina seemed to have a life of her own, so I penetrated her and started to fuck my wife slow. It was not easy to fuck her because she was still partly taped at their chair. "I always liked your vagina, my love, so move with me because I need to come deep inside your love box, baby," I told her while I continued to fuck her vagina with my penis. I loved the sensations of my wife's vagina because her contracting vagina gave me an extremely pleasant feeling while I slow fucked my own wife, who by now started to moan because the sensations were too strong for her, so she started to orgasm while my penis moved freely in her vagina till moment I started to come. "I'm coming, baby. Do you want my sperm deep inside your vagina, my love?" I asked my wife, and with a muffled voice she said yes while breathing heavily through her nose. I started to erupt from out of my penis inside the vagina of my wife, so I started to spurt several streams of my seed inside my wife's vagina while she heavily breathed. When I was ready seeding my wife, I looked my wife deep in her eyes. "You are a great fuck, my love," I told her. I walked again to the table where my boss was chained, and I was pleased to notice that my boss was fully awake without of my help. I looked him in his remaining eye. "Your time has almost come, my friend, but I'm not yet ready with you, and I'm not yet willing to let you go, my friend, because you damaged me and my marriage," I told my boss, who was in deep agony because of a constant pain. I went to my tools and took the pincers and returned to my boss. "You don't need the fingers of your left hand, my friend," I said while laughing. I took their pincers and started to cut off parts of each finger while blood was spurting out of each wound, and when I was ready cutting off each finger, I took the propane torch and burned the blood spurting wounds till the blood spurts stopped. I smiled because I was pleased that I succeeded with my task to stop the bleedings. "My friend, now you see how well I take care of you. Now I stopped all bleedings," I told my boss, but he did not react because he was in a state of shock while his body was shaking and he started to make inhuman noises. "You may not die, my friend. I need you here some time longer." "Because I still need you, my friend," I told my boss while voices inside my head constantly told me to kill. It took time before I could ignore the voice in my head that constantly told me to kill and to end the case, but I was not yet willing to close the mission because I was not yet satisfied with results. I went to my boss. "Sorry, my friend, but I need to help you with your eating problems," I told my boss. And I took a small claw hammer and started to hit the mouth of my boss to break his teeth. Nothing more. While all the time the man constantly screamed of pain at moment each hit with the claw hammer started to break parts of his teeth. Blood started running out of the mouth of my boss. "I see you have big problems, my friend, and I fear your time has come by now, my friend, so I think I need to end your hours of suffering here, but now you know that you took the wife of the wrong man for your own pleasure, my friend. I hope you may burn in hell if your time is there to die. I fear I can't do anything else as to give you a quick and merciful death, my friend," I told him. I took my small sledgehammer. "Do you see this, my friend? This is the hammer of mercy," I told the near-dead, heavily suffering man who by now nothing else wanted as to end the constant pain he feels. A pain which is now part of his living hell. I take the sledgehammer and walk to the legs of the man in agony and extreme pain. I took the hammer and started to crush the feet of the wild shocking chained man at the table. I took again the sledgehammer and started to crush the bones of his lower legs while blood spurted wildly out of the wounds. I now crushed the knees of my boss while crushing it with the sledgehammer. Then I started to crush the bones of the upper legs of the shaking man at their table while with each hit of the sledgehammer not only blood spurted out of the flesh and open blood vessels, but each hit also cracked and crushed bones. My wife now completely fainted because of the bloody lower part of the barely living man who was my boss. A man who lay down in chains and partly taped at the table, the man who was my boss and the secret lover of my wife. Yes, my friend, you may die, but first things first, I told my boss. I took my blood-covered Stanley knife and, without removing the duct tape, I started to cut it open, and while doing so I started to cut open their belly of my boss and started to take out part of the bowels of the man. Now you may die, friend. May you burn in hell, I said to my boss while again I took the sledgehammer and started to crush the bones of the remains of the hands, followed by the remains of the left arm at first, so blood kept spurting out of the wounds. All the time my boss did not die, so I started to crush the right arm bit by bit while less and less blood flew out of the wounds. I looked my boss in his only survived eye and saw that the light of life was almost gone. I again took the sledgehammer and started to crush their chest of my boss who already died moments ago, but I still felt anger because of what my boss had done, so I kept crushing the bones of the dead corpse lying at the table in front of me. I took a moment of rest while drinking some water. I felt strong, so I took my sledgehammer and started to crush the head and skull of my boss so brain parts got spread. At moments my sledgehammer started to crush the skull parts where the brain was located. I kept on hitting the sledgehammer at each part of the remains of my boss till I felt exhausted. I needed time to recover, and then I looked at their bloody mass at the table and at the floor of what once was my boss. So finally I sensed some inner peace while an inner voice by now told me to stop to kill. May you now find your kind of peace in hell, Patrick Turner. I saw you and I judged you, I said while looking satisfied at the bloody mass of what was left over after I had judged Patrick Turner, my boss. I saw my wife being passed out. My inner voice told me again not to kill any more. At moment I was with my wife. I looked at myself and saw that I was fully covered with blood and flesh and bone parts of what once was Patrick Turner. I didn't care how I liked. I took a piece of the towel and drenched it with fresh ammonia. I held it at level of the nose of my wife till she came to consciousness again. Mary looked at me with great fear while her body was shaking all the time because of the shock of all scattered blood, flesh and bone parts, and by seeing me totally covered with part of remains of what once was Patrick Turner. I hit my wife in the face. I will now remove your mouth tape because we have to talk, I told my wife. Do you still have the ball from there? Scrotum of Patrick inside your mouth? I asked my wife Mary. She nodded her head to say yes. Okay, babe, I give you permission to spit it out. Do you understand me? I asked her, and again she nodded her head. Good girl. If you act violent or start to scream or you try to escape me, then I have no mercy and I will kill you in a horrible way. Do you understand me? I asked again while my wife again nodded her head. I smiled at my wife and kissed her forehead to calm her a bit, and then I removed the duct tape from the mouth of my wife, and immediately she spit out the ball from the scrotum, from the bloody remains from what once was Patrick Turner, and she kept spitting till she spontaneous started to vomit. I removed all duct tape from my naked wife except from her hands, which I taped behind her back. We have to talk, my love, so sit down at your chair, I told my wife. And I took my bottle of water which I hold against her lips because she could not use her hands, because they were taped behind her back, so she used her lips and mouth to ease her thirst sensations. Then I took the bottle back. I will free your hands, I told my wife, and I started cut their tape from the hands of my wife. Come sit at my lap and position your vagina at my penis while you face me so we can talk while I be inside you and we have eye contact, I told her, and immediately my wife took my penis and started to wank me, and then she positioned herself at my penis with her cunt. So I again was deep inside my wife's vagina. For a moment I held my wife tight because of the good Feeling so, I gave her a kiss. If you agree to stay my wife and to stay faithful to me from now on, then I let you live and I accept your baby inside your womb as my own baby, but next year I want you to get pregnant of our child and I will check it via a DNA test. I will forgive you your sins and your infidelity. But only this time, because I still love you and want to grow old with you. Do you understand what I just told you, Mary dear? I asked my wife while I all the time was moving my hips because of the nice sensation the vagina of my wife around my penis gave me. Yes, Jack, I understand you and I accept your terms, my wife told me while at that moment I almost spurted my sperm inside the vagina of my wife. Stop, baby. You need some punishment because of your extreme misbehavior and infidelity related to the past months, I told her. What will be my punishment? Mary asked me, while she started to moan because of my penis moving inside her vagina. I looked my wife straight in the eyes. You will be here inside the room behind that wall behind me for 1 month while I feed you and fuck you each day. So see it as 1 month jail time, and then you must prove you are still my wife in the outside world, while all will be like in the past, with as exception that your vagina, your ass, and your inside mouth belongs to me because you're my wife while I'm your husband, so you have to remain faithful to me. Do you agree with these terms? I asked my wife. All the time we looked each other in the eyes. Yes, I agree, my love, Mary told me while all the time she breathed heavily because of the stronger contractions of her vagina. I now took my wife while I trusted my penis as deep as possible inside the vagina of my wife. We started to tongue kiss each other while we both breathed heavily, and my wife started to moan again while moments later her body started to shake. So I could not hold it any longer and started to spurt my seed deep inside my wife's vagina. I love you, baby, I told her. I love you to my love, Mary, my wife told me while we kissed each other with passion. Epilogue. I cleaned up all remains in regards of the person who once was called Patrick Turner. Patrick Turner was filed as a missing person by the police, but he was never found. Turner had never formally made notes of his secret affair with my wife Mary, and he had made no note of his appointment at my house, so the police knew nothing about the affair between my wife and Turner and him visiting us at our private address, because Turner did hide all his secret activities. Turner never wanted that his wife or anyone else would find out secrets in regards to him, so I and my wife were never part of a police investigation. For 1 month my wife was my prisoner behind the separated wall I had closed, so she could not escape, while each day I fed her and made love to her via an ass-sized opening in there wall, and after a month I broke down part of the wall to release my wife, who by now was changed in an obedient and caring wife. My wife to me proved she truly wanted to be my wife forever, and a few months later she gave birth to a baby daughter who I fully accepted as my daughter with my name. A year later my wife gave birth to another baby daughter, and the DNA tests proved that I was the father, and now 2 years later me and my family are closer as ever before, and me and my wife are still happily married, so all ended well for me and my wife. End. Author, Herman Fridsma.